How's it going, everybody? This is Cameron White with White Light Astrology, giving you guys your May 2019 horoscope for Taurus, Sun, and Rising. Thank you guys so much for being here and liking and sharing and commenting and subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you guys. This month is definitely going to be a lot of push and pull, but luckily for you, Taurus, or especially if you're watching this from a Taurus rising perspective, you've got a lot of good things going on for you this month. Besides it being your birthday, happy birthday, you're going to have Venus and Mercury transit your first house, along with Uranus getting, more electrified up in that area. So I really do think that even though this month is going to have, again, a lot of push and pull, which we'll go into, I do think that this is going to be a really positive month for you guys. So the first thing that happens in May, as we go into May, we have Saturn stationing retrograde in Capricorn, and this is happening in your 9th house. Now, Saturn has been direct for the past couple of months, and when Saturn's direct, he brings new obstacles and new challenges, new barriers and new ways to discipline yourself, as well as new ways to take on not only authority but responsibility. Saturn's a lot about, creating more of like a more mature, more disciplined person, so that involves a lot of the time gaining more responsibility. So as Saturn stations retrograde, it's going to be retrograding for the next couple months in your 9th house, and this is going to be a time of where, for the past couple months, where Saturn's been giving you challenges, giving you obstacles in this area of the 9th house, which is about higher education, travel, foreign languages, publishing, spirituality, philosophy, your beliefs about yourself. It's a very spiritual place and a very philosophical place, and it has a lot to do with not only your beliefs about yourself, but about the outside world. And as Saturn stations retrograde, this is going to be a time where you get to take on those challenges and those walls that you could face with Saturn being direct for the past couple of months. Or if maybe you have a day chart where Saturn's a little bit more constructive in your chart, this is going to be a time of taking on a lot more responsibility and taking on a lot more effort and work when it comes to things like higher education, like if you're in school right now, or long distance travel, foreign places and lands and languages. The 9th house has everything to do with learning and everything that has to do with far distant stuff. So as Saturn stations retrograde through here, this is just going to be a time of really taking on the challenges that could have presented themselves to you in the past few months and starting to actually take those on. The next thing that we've got going on is on May 4th, we have the new moon in Taurus. And so, again, happy birthday, but now we're going to have both the luminaries, the sun and the moon, in the same sign of Taurus. And you guys should know what Taurus is all about. This is about being grounded. This is about growing. This is about being fixated on things being beautiful and things having value, things being real and tangible. And this new moon is going to be really positive for you guys because it's going to feel like you're having a reset of yourself. This is happening in your first house of your personality, of your sense of self, of your body. So this is going to feel like, kind of like a new moon, new you type deal. But then as we move on 2 days later, on May 6th, we're actually going to have Mercury enter Taurus now. So now that Mercury is going to be in Taurus, Mercury is all about, of course, communication, our mindset, the way that we're thinking, what we're thinking about. And as it's in the sign of Taurus, which again is about making things grow and keeping sustainability, keeping, a fertile soil to keep, plants alive and in abundance. Mercury is going to be going through your first house and having this mindset about yourself where, where can you be more fixated with yourself? How can you help yourself grow? Where are you going to be more communicative and expressive about who you are? This is just going to be a really good time of being able to say what you need to say the way that you want to say it. And you're not going to have any challenges too much really about expressing the way that you feel. Then, 2 days later, on May 8th, we're going to have Mercury conjoin Uranus in your first house. And I've been talking a lot about how last month when the Sun conjoined Uranus, this is going to be a time when you're like, hey, I see how Uranus is shaping my life now in my chart. With Uranus in your first house now, this is a lot of, unexpected things happening to yourself. You may change, the way that you look. You may change the way that you see the world. Uranus is all about liberation and freedom and creativity. And as the planet Mercury, again, the communicator, the messenger, he kind of speaks the message for the planets that he conjoins. While he's on top of Uranus on May 8th, this is going to be a time where now that you have Uranus in your first house, you're feeling more eccentric, you're feeling more excited. Mercury right here is basically communicating that message very loud and clear. So if you haven't, again, seen Uranus's energy in your first house, which I'm sure you have by now, you're definitely going to feel it this day. Then as we move forward, on May 15th, we're going to have Venus enter Taurus. And again, this is super positive stuff. Venus is the planet of love and relationships and values. She wants to bring things together, and she wants to show you what matters and what's important. She wants to show you the fun side, and she wants you to be able to enjoy what it is that you're indulging yourself with. She's moving into her home sign of Taurus. This is number one probably favorite sign. I think Venus in Taurus acts better than Venus in Libra personally. However, Venus is going into her home sign where she can operate and do the things that she wants to do the best way that she can. And this is happening in your first house, again, of yourself, of your personality, of the way that you view things, how you react, how you respond. And as Venus goes into your first house, you're going to be feeling a lot more of like the self-love thing. Like, what do you need? What do you value? What's the best parts about yourself? And again, this is that Taurus energy of like, we're growing things. Things are stable, things are grounded, they're tangible, they're physical, they're abundant, things are valuable, and they're growing. And now Venus is going through there, the Sun will be through there, Mercury will be through there. There's going to be a lot of looking at yourself and a lot of like self-love, like, hey, this is what I want to feel, this is what I want to express, and this is what I want to do, which I think is going to be really positive for you guys. Now, as we move forward on May 16th, the next day, we're going to have we're going to have Mars ingress into Cancer and go into your third house. Now, this is going to be a little bit weird because while Mars was in Gemini in your second house, it could have been easier to spend a lot of money. Your money was kind of going away. Now, as Mars goes into Cancer, it's moving into its sign of fall, where it doesn't operate properly. It can't really do Mars things all that well. And it's entering into your third house of communication, of the way that you speak, the way that you write, siblings, neighbors, your very local communal environment, things that are around you. The third house also has a lot to do with how you utilize yourself. The first house being who you are, the second house being what you have, and the third house being how you use it. And so as Mars goes into your third house, this is going to be a time of more focusing on what tangible items and tools can you utilize for yourself in the ways not only speaking and communicating, which is something that would probably help you, but more of what needs to be protected and what needs to be nurtured, what needs to be looked after. Mars is the planet of action and drive and energy, and when he's in the sign of Cancer, which is about trust and nurturing and intuition, as well as being protective of what's important, Mars is going to be going through that third house of, again, communication and siblings in your environment, and this is going to be a time to where your actions are going to be more geared towards the things that are more important and being a little bit more conservative with your actions. This is definitely going to be a time to not necessarily take action on emotional feelings that, kind of happen in the moment. Mars in Cancer can be really easy to make decisions based on our emotions in that moment. And so it's going to be, some good advice would definitely to take some time before you make a decision and really think about what you're doing and what matters most, what's the most important, and what do you need to protect. Also on May 16th, we're going to have Venus conjoin Uranus here in your first house of Taurus, which this is super exciting stuff. This is Venus, that planet of value, that planet of love on top of Uranus of freedom and breakthrough and spontaneity, and it's kind of random and it's breakthroughs and breakdowns. Venus is positive though, and Venus is in your first house. She's in her home sign. This is definitely going to be electrifying energy of refreshment of yourself, more positive self-love for who you are. And I know that's kind of like corny and kind of general, but like the first house is about you, and when you have Venus there in her home sign, which you guys probably get this about every year and a half, this is definitely going to be a time where, Venus's energy is going to have a lot of, pull on you, where you're making decisions based off that Venusian energy of this is what I want and this is what I value. Now, as we move forward into May 21st, we're going to have the Sun enter Gemini and we're going to have Mercury enter Gemini all in the same day while Mercury goes Cazimi with the Sun. Now, the Sun is basically the light, what we see, what kind of lights things up. And Mercury is, of course, the planet that's about messages, about communication, and all of that stuff. Now, they're both going into the sign of Gemini, which is Mercury's home sign, where Mercury can operate the best. And Mercury is going Cazimi with the Sun, which basically means it's conjunct the Sun and will be, so to say, purified by fire. Like, it's very much like Mercury's energy is cleared up, it's cleared out, it's refreshed, it's totally clean is the best way to put it. And now with this being in its home sign of Gemini, this is definitely like a lot of understanding, a lot of clear messages, a lot of like just clarity on a certain situation. And this is happening in your second house of your money, of your finances, of your resources, what your physical, tangible items that you possess are and what your values are. And so I think this is going to be a positive time to really, kind of get a grip on your finances, since, Mars and Gemini could have you may have spent a little bit more money than you wanted to, but as the Sun and Mercury conjoin here in Gemini, this is going to be time of getting a handle on that, being more focused and having more not necessarily in and out, ebb and flow of finances, but more of like a lot of more fast-paced energy is a good way to put it. And then by the time we get to the end of the month, on May 31st, we're going to have Venus trine Saturn. So you know how I was talking about with Saturn stationing retrograde in your 9th house of your beliefs and, you know, your sense of philosophy and spirituality? Saturn's retrograde where it's time to take on the challenges and obstacles that you've been facing in that area, or maybe take on a greater sense of responsibility. Venus trining Saturn is giving you that like self-love and that stability in who you are and your identity to give you the strength to kind of like go like, yeah, I can do that. Like I can take this on and I have not necessarily no problem doing it, but I'm excited to do it. This is what I want to do. And this is what I want to invest my time into. And that's basically the month of May for you guys. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for being here and liking and watching, sharing and subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you, and I'll be seeing you next month.